What if you stepped into the impossible? And it actually worked? What if the very next moment everything collapsed beneath you? This is the story of a man who walked on water. If you exit now, you may miss the secret to surviving the storms in your own life. But if you stay, you will uncover how one fisherman did what only God can do and how you can too. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories from the Bible, where ordinary people do extraordinary things through faith. Tonight, we travel to a moment filled with waves, wind, and wonder. A moment where a single step changed a man's destiny. The day had already been miraculous. Jesus had just fed a massive crowd, over 5,000 people, with nothing more than a boy's small lunch, 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. The energy was electric. The people were amazed, buzzing, hungry for more from this miracle worker. But Jesus didn't want the applause. He wanted silence. He needed to connect with his Father, so he went up a mountain to pray alone. Meanwhile, he instructed his disciples to get into their boat and sail ahead of him across the vast Sea of Galilee. The disciples obeyed, pushing off from the shore, probably feeling a mix of exhaustion and awe from the day's events, but completely unaware of what was waiting for them out on the water. As they rowed into the heart of the sea, the night sky grew heavy and dark. Thick clouds rolled in, swallowing the stars and the moon, plunging them into near-total blackness. Then the wind rose, not like a gentle breeze, but like an angry beast roaring across the water. The calm sea transformed into a churning chaos. Vicious waves slammed against their small fishing boat, tossing it around like a piece of driftwood caught in a rapid. These weren't novices. They were experienced fishermen. They knew this sea, they knew its moods. But the storm that night was different. It was relentless, and fear began to tighten its cold grip around their chests. They rowed with every ounce of strength, their muscles shaking, their knuckles white as they gripped the oars. But for every foot they gained, the storm seemed to push them back too. It felt like the sea itself was fighting against them, and it was winning. Hours crawled by. The initial confidence they had in their skills slowly eroded, replaced by sheer, bone-deep exhaustion. They were losing the battle. And the one person who could calm any storm, Jesus, was not in the boat with them. They were alone. Then, a sudden flash of lightning tore through the darkness. For a brief, terrifying second, the world was illuminated in a stark, ghostly white, revealing the true chaos around them. And in that flash they saw something. Through the driving rain and crashing waves, a shape appeared on the surface of the sea. A human shape, and it was walking calmly. On top of the violent waves, panic erupted in the boat. The disciples screamed in unison, "It's a ghost!" The terror that gripped them in that moment was far worse than the storm ever could be. Because the unknown is often much scarier than the danger we can see and understand. They were battling a storm they knew, but now they were facing something they couldn't explain. Then, a voice cut through the howling wind, strong and steady, a beacon in the chaos. "Take courage. It is I, do not be afraid." In that instant, fear collided with revelation. The ghost wasn't a ghost at all. The figure walking on the water was Jesus, their teacher, the master of miracles, the Lord of all creation. Relief probably washed over them, but it was mixed with utter astonishment. Only one disciple dared to respond. Not with a sigh of relief, but with a bold, audacious challenge. Peter, his heart pounding in his chest, his voice straining to be heard over the storm, shouted out, "Lord, if it's really you, command me to come to you on the water." Think about that for a second. His first instinct wasn't to say, "Lord, stop the storm," or "save us." No, his request was something far more personal, far more daring. He said, "Let me come closer to you." Even if the path is dangerous and impossible, he wanted to join Jesus in the miracle. And Jesus answered with one single, life-changing word that echoed across the waves. "Come." So Peter did it. He clambered over the side of the rocking boat. Imagine his perspective. The churning black sea below him looked like a grave, waiting to swallow him whole. His friends were probably shouting at him, telling him he was crazy. But his eyes were not on the waves, not on the boat. They were fixed on Jesus. He let go of the boat, his only source of safety. And he put his foot on the water. It didn't sink. The impossible held him up. He took another step. The storm was still raging around him. The wind was still howling. The waves were still crashing. But a miracle was happening right there, beneath his feet. Peter walked on water, stepping toward Jesus. In that moment, his faith lifted him higher than his fear ever could. Every single step was a declaration. I trust you more than I trust the danger all around me. He was doing the impossible. Then, it happened. A sudden violent gust of wind, a loud crash of a wave right next to him, pulled his attention away. For just a second, his focus shifted from Jesus to the storm. He saw the waves again, really saw them. He remembered how tall they were, how deep and cold the water was. And in that moment of distraction, he forgot how powerful the one he was walking toward truly was. Fear returned, and it rushed in faster than faith can fade. His confidence shattered, and he started to sink. The water, which had been solid beneath his feet just seconds before, gave way. It swallowed his legs, then his waist, then rose to his chest. He was going under. In a panic, he cried out the only prayer he had left, "Lord, save me." And the Bible says immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and grabbed him. Immediately, not after a lecture, not after letting him struggle as a punishment. Instantly, Jesus pulled him up with a strength far greater than the storm's fury. As he held Peter, keeping him from sinking, Jesus said to him softly, not with anger, but with gentle correction, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" It's a powerful question. It wasn't the wind or the waves that made Peter sink. It was his doubt. Doubt sinks us faster and deeper than water ever could. Then, hand in hand, Jesus and Peter walked back to the boat together, the water still solid and firm under their feet. Jesus himself carried the calm before the calm had even arrived. The very moment they both stepped back into the boat, the storm stopped. Just like that. The wind that had been roaring bowed down into silence. The waves that had been crashing became as still as glass. Nature instantly obeyed its creator. The other disciples, soaked, shivering, and exhausted, just stared in stunned silence. The fear was gone, replaced by a profound, overwhelming awe. They looked at Jesus, and finally understood. "Truly," they whispered, "you are the Son of God." This storm hadn't come to destroy them. It came to reveal who Jesus was more clearly than ever before. And Peter, standing there dripping wet in the boat, realized something incredibly powerful. His success wasn't in walking on water perfectly. His victory was in the fact that he was brave enough to step out of the boat at all. His faith wasn't perfect, but it was present. Faith isn't the absence of fear. It's not about being fearless. It's about choosing to move toward Jesus despite the fear you feel. True miracles don't happen in the safety of the harbor. They live out on the water, right where our fear and our obedience collide. If you never leave the boat, you will never know if you can walk on water. The question for us today is, what is our boat? What is that place of safety and comfort that we're afraid to leave? And can we hear, even now, through the storms of our own lives, that same voice of Jesus calling out to us with that same single, life-changing invitation? Come. Thanks for joining us for this extraordinary story. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of faith that can change your life. See you next time.